Hello and welcome to the ROKER Report Exiles podcast. I'm Brett Lyons-Davis and today we'll be talking about Sunderland being back to winning ways the MK Dons, previewing Lincoln away, and we've also have some of your tales from the road, and you lot have some right carry-ons getting to a few of the Sunderland matches, so it was quite interesting to hear some of those. As you may know though, if you've heard the pod before, we are Sun supporters stretched across the world. So we've had supporters in France, Australia on the pod, and today London and Lincoln. So not quite a far afield or international, but I've got two brand new voices and they've got some stories to tell themselves. And my first guest I've got on tonight is Michael Potts from London. Michael, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How are you, Red? You all right?
I'm very well. I'm sort of like everyone at the moment in this country, I think just sick of seeing rain.
Yeah, pretty much. Thunder and lightning at work today, which was a bit of a nightmare. But
it's been absolutely pouring it down here in Milton Keynes, and I'm saying, like the whole country is just awash. But Michael, you are a Sunderland supporter, and I'm guessing by your accent you are from the northeast.
I am indeed from Sunderland, born and bred in the glorious part of Sunderland, Silksworth. Just basically grew up, born and raised Markham, went to the matches for about 10 years for the season ticket, and then was exiled away for work to London. And it's a bit like being sort of starved of football, pretty much. Like I think with especially being down League One and stuff, there's not as many London teams, London games. So yeah, it really was a bit of an exile story for work. I guess I started off with the Phillips and Quinn days. I thought it was always going to be like this. My family aren't even that bothered about football, really. I think my dad had a bit of a thing for Liverpool a while ago when he was a teenager, but like everybody, I guess, back then. But yeah, I could have avoided all of this, but here I am, and yeah, made a lot of bad choices watching the lads up and down the country. And try to get to as many games as I can while I'm down here.
So how long have you been living down in London for?
Been about 3.5 years down here now.
So you would have seen the big change then from being, as I noticed myself, being in the Premier League where you are constantly on the news, where we are now sort of forgotten about in League One.
Yeah, well, I came to London, actually. It was I think it was about the week before the Everton games and the Chelsea games at the end of that Allardyce season.
Oh, the fabulous Everton and Chelsea games.
Yeah, I had a season ticket that year, but had to move. I think it was about the April that year. So I ended up watching the Everton game at work, and I was absolutely just homesick beyond belief because I was working a late shift. Watched the Chelsea game in a pub, the Albion. I think a few Sunderland lads from down here sometimes meet up there, and just went absolutely wild when Defoe scored, when Khazri scored. Yeah,
that Chelsea game, I was actually at my niece's, I was like a third or fourth birthday, and there was me and my dad sat on their front doorstep listening to the radio, completely ignoring all these kids that were inside having a great time. Class. And I was just literally dancing around the garden when those goals went in.
Yeah, well, we ended up, I think the second goal, everybody was jumping about, going mad. And they actually flicked the telly off because it was getting a bit rowdy. Nothing going on, just people dancing about. And then when the third went in, that was it. TV went off. Didn't see the celebrations. It was we had to whisper celebrate, I think, by the end. But no, very good memory. Very good memory. Good times.
They were good times. And did you get to many away games now then? Because I think you was at the Peterborough game, weren't you? There's a few of us went down for that day.
Yeah, I was at the Peterborough game. That was my first one of the season. Again, like I think some of the games are still a couple hours away and things. There was only sort of Charlton and Wimbledon maybe actually in London last season. Yeah, but I made it up to Peterborough. Wish I hadn't gone. That was a thoroughly miserable one. But yeah, I think all my mates down here, they just sort of they don't quite get it. They just see me coming in miserable from occasional away days. Just it's another 1-1 draw.
They must just assume that every Monday you're all really really just because you hate coming back to work.
Yeah, pretty much that. It's like little do they know the reason.
Nice one. I'm also joined on the line by another new voice. It is Paul Hunter, who's also in London. Paul, how are you doing?
Yes, very good, Brett. Very good. I'm dry. I've dodged the rain this evening, so yeah, all good.
Good man. And Paul, like I said to Michael just then, what's your story? Obviously, you're down in London. Where do you hail from originally?
Born and raised in Sunderland. Grew up on not too far from Michael, actually, on the mean streets of East Harrington, and yeah, made my debut at Roker Park as a young lad. Kind of, you take the homemade wooden stand, put it on the railings, and didn't have a clue what was going on probably, but you start to get into it that way through your dad. And then got a season ticket when the Stadium of Light opened. Me and my dad, friends, my mum and my sister, all four of us had season tickets. And it was just the right time, the kind of Quinn Phillips era, really good football. And again, like Michael's just said, you think, oh, this is great. I can get used to this. And then my exile, I guess, kind of started with, it kind of coincided when we started getting, crap, the kind of 15-point seasons and so on. I went to university, so I was away from home. And then after university, I went out to America, actually, which was supposed to be 6 months, but turned into 4 years. I was coaching football out there. Absolutely loved it. I was watching, games at stupid o'clock on Fox and so on. I would come back for Christmas and get to games on Boxing Day and things like that. But yeah, so I'd been exiled there. I actually stayed with a family in America. They had 4 boys who were all into football or soccer. And I really got them into Sunderland and would take off like shirts for them and so on. Yeah, I still keep in touch with them. And one of them in particular is still a massive fan. He messaged me all the time on Facebook about, the results and how things are going. And I have to sign off every message with, I'm really, really sorry, Matt.
I promise he'll get better.
Yeah, because that wasn't his choice. He could have had a Chelsea or Liverpool or Man City fan come stay with him. So I was in America for a while, and I moved back to Sunderland. I actually worked for the foundation for a short while, the SAFC Foundation. I was on their coaching team, so I would go into schools and do some of their coaching programs in the Northeast, which was really good. But it was a varied job, and I think the sort of a little bit the tip of the iceberg was one day my boss said, "I've got a job for you," and I said, "Oh yeah, what's that?" And he said, "I want you to be Sampson the cat today." And that was the point where I just thought, I need more than this. So I
Oh, please tell me you did it once though. Sure.
No, I didn't. Some of the guys sort of stepped in. Yeah. And I went home and said, "Mum, I think that's me done. I think it's time to move." So I moved away, and I had friends down in London. I sort of channeled my inner Dick Whittington. And yeah, I've been down here for about 8 years now. Yeah, got a job in recruitment, as you do, put the sports science degree to good use. And yeah, 8 years later, here I am.
Surely that sports science degree should have been used to being Sampson the cat. I'm going to have to come back onto that because I'm really disappointed you wasn't Sampson for at least a day.
Isn't Tony Davidson the MD?
Yeah, he is. So one of the top dogs at the club now used to be Sampson the cat. So
yeah, I should have took it. God knows where I'd be right now.
So Paul, for yourself then, because how often sort of do you get to games then?
I would go home about 4 times a year, including Christmas, and I always try and coincide that with a home game to get to. So that's the sort of home side of things. Then Michael's just said any away games down here I'll try and get to. Went to Charlton last year. Season before that was Brentford, Fulham, QPR. Any opportunity I get, but it's not easy. But it's got to take any chance you can, really.
Well, Six, you're going to be joining the rest of the Exiles,
yes,
Jolly Boys out onto Wickham, aren't you? There's a few of us sort of got our names down for that one.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. Should be a good day. I've never been to Wickham before, so yeah, it's one to tick off. And each their own, but I'd say away days can be more fun sometimes, can't they?
For me, and I'm sure the other guys will probably agree with it, away days are always better than home games. Now, I don't know if that's obviously because, like for me, going up to the Stadium of Light's a 3.5 hour car journey.
Yeah.
There and back in a day. But the away days, the crowd are always up for it. It's always a good time. Obviously, well, not obviously the results, but
yeah.
You often have great, the old phrase, a great day at the football ruined by the football.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Yeah,
and I guess supporting Sunderland. So
yeah, and being a big fish in a small pond, as in terms of League One, I guess the home fans have a little bit. They're up for it more, aren't they? When Sunderland come to town. So yeah, it's good fun.
No, definitely. I suppose the only other good thing about the only good thing about dropping down to League One, and hopefully this season we'll get out of it, was there was a lot of new grounds to tick off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they're proper football stadiums, aren't they? I know times have changed and you've got to move on, but some of these places are proper football stadiums. So yeah, it's a good thing to have.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun standing on the terrace at Burton. Compared to when I was getting bored of sitting at sort of like Stamford Bridge. So it's but yeah, I don't want to stay here though. Let's get up this season. But Paul, I will come back to you because obviously you was at the
yes.
MK Dons game this weekend. But I won't leave him hanging on. I will say hello also to John Stacy, who has been on the show before. Obviously, this week we are playing his local team, Lincoln. John, how are you?
I'm all right, Brett. How are you? Well, actually, you've already answered that. We've done this on the last pod where everybody keeps asking you how you are. But yeah, I escaped the rain quite a lot today as well. So let's keep it consistent with the rain talk. I was quite wet at one point, but definitely managed to get out of it to get me free Costa coffee. Hopefully everybody got a Costa coffee today.
Don't worry, I got my Costa coffee as well. I will come back to you though, mate. Obviously, because you've got your guide to Lincoln.
Oh God, yeah.
For us that I'm looking really forward to hearing about. That should be really, really interesting and very helpful for all Sun supporters coming to the match this weekend.
You're building this up far too much, Brett.
John's got some nice places to go to, if you like a bistro or a coffee shop, I'm sure. But I will get down to talking about Saturday's game. So we finally, 2 wins in a row if you count the cup game against Sheffield United, beat MK Dons 2-1. Another absolute worldie from Max Power. Luke O'Nien taking his goal very well. Don's put it back to 2-1. It looks like we may have held on. So, Paul, what were your thoughts on Saturday?
It was a real funny one, actually. Ultimately, we made really hard work of it. And coming out of the stadium and walking back across the bridge, it was a bit of a funny feeling. I think if you hadn't been to the game and you were amongst that crowd and someone said, what do you think the result was? I don't think many people would have said, it was a Sunderland win, if that makes sense. It felt more like a draw, or there was some positives. There were some good individual performances, which I'm sure we'll get onto. The 2 new lads at the back in Lynch and De Bock, I thought were really good, considering it was their first home game. O'Nien was excellent. He was my man of the match. But apart from that, and apart from 2 excellent goals, of course, as you've just mentioned, something just wasn't quite there. We really made hard work of it. If we'd have been playing better opposition, we might have got punished. But, we have to take the 3 points and we have to be positive and move on. But, yeah, definitely work to do, in my opinion.
No, and I think that's, for me, that is, what we need to take from this at the moment. There's been a lot of negativity, obviously, from the previous Bolton game. But in my eyes, it is 2 wins on the bounce. I'm pleased we seem to be having in the centre of the park, McGeoch, Power, and then sort of O'Nien in front of them. I was saying this the other day, I think that needs work to gel. I'll bring it, Michael, yourself. Are you, obviously with Power scoring again, I'd say he's probably nailed that, middle of the park slot. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Power's a funny one. I think he's always had that. We've seen before he even signed for us. He always had that sort of rocket shot in his locker, and it just felt in a lot of games he was almost quite passive. He wasn't particularly going for it with any particular venom in his strikes. Just looked a bit sort of on the leash, I guess. And I think in the last couple of games you've just seen what he is actually about. He's not this sit back and take it easy sort of midfielder. He has got that bit of a dynamite hit in him, and I just think, in a time when we're struggling to turn draws into wins, I think that's the sort of player who, out of nowhere, can turn that 1-1 into that 2-1. It was funny, I was just thinking a couple of weeks ago that we haven't actually scored that many tremendous goals in a while. I know that's a bit of a weird thought to have, but I just think that a lot of the goals we score tend to be, neat finishes or headers or whatever you like, but we haven't really scored too many rockets. So it's nice to actually see that we're having a goal from a bit further out. Don't know if that's something Jack Ross has changed. I'm not sure if that's something he's give Power license to do, but he's obviously so good at it.
No, I actually agree with that. I've said previously that we've seen a lot of players who are afraid to shoot. And so they want to get the, you can't sort of compare it to like when Arsenal should try and pass it into the net sort of thing, but they're nowhere near that good. But we, just the ball's about 25 yards out and there's a shot, go for it. If it takes a deflection, if it you might hit a corner, could do anything.
Well, it's that unpredictability, isn't it? I think especially in League One, where the keepers they're not Premier League class keepers. No disrespect to them, of course, but they're not elite level keepers. And there are some of them who, if you pepper them with shots, they're going to drop one, they're going to spill one. Whether it goes straight into the back of the net, whether it falls to a striker who's ready to tap in somewhere like Grigg to pick up on the pieces. Yeah, I just think you've got to go for it, People like Maguire as well. He's a similar sort of character who can do that.
That's definitely it. And John, obviously, we'll say while we're still discussing, the midfield there, What are your thoughts with McGeoch and then also 09 playing that more forward role?
Yeah, from what I've heard and from what I've seen, I definitely echo what Michael said there regarding Power. First of all, I think he's, and maybe some other members of the team, I think the reason why I feel like he's got a bit of freedom and he's taken these chances and he's probably whipped a couple of goals out of nowhere when he previously would have been passive, is probably because of the lack of a Ledbetter behind him. I've got a feeling that there's a bit of a change in setup almost. I know we've kind of consistently played with a number 10 or someone there, but I think playing McGeoch and Power rather than Ledbetter and another person is you've got someone. McGeoch's going to get backwards and forwards, Power gets backwards and forwards. They've got like for like almost in there. Dobson's the same. When Ledbetter plays, as we all know, and he sort of sits very deep and the other person kind of has a lot of work to do. And I think the other reason Power's been let free a little bit is the lack of McGeady. And I remember, I just sort of remembering back to the other pod that Alex and the guys did, there was talk of kind of the freedom that players got when McGeady wasn't in the team. And it definitely seemed like that in the last couple of games, the Sheffield United game and MK Dons. It definitely seemed like without McGeady in the team, as much as he's a brilliant player, some of the players are stepping up and feeling a bit more freedom to take chances. Maybe it is that sort of subconscious fear of, if we take a rubbish chance here rather than passing it to McGeady, he's going to have a pop, or everyone's going to think, why didn't you pass to McGeady? And I especially think about the midfielders, the centre midfielders, and I think that's definitely showing with Power, McGeoch and Nyan definitely looking more free than any other trio that we've had in there. So it'd be interesting to see what happens on Saturday and when McGeady comes back. I've got a horrible sinking feeling that because we're away, which just seems ridiculous, Ross will play Ledbetter, even though logic would think we'll play Ledbetter at home where it's a bit more comfortable for him. I don't know, but I've just got this horrible feeling Ledbetter will come back in, but surely not. McGeoch and Power done really well. Can't fault a 9. Surely you can't drop him back to right back with Conor McLaughlin playing pretty well and him scoring. So yeah, I think.
Well, that was one of the things because I'm not Ross out by any stretch of imagination, but one thing that is quite clear about him is that he doesn't really know his first 11, and I think one of the things that doesn't help us is the fact that we're constantly changing partnerships throughout the team.
Yeah.
So in the centre of the park, where you've got obviously McGeoch and Power at the moment, who really should be the first to in there, they keep interchanging with Dobson and Ledbetter. Now, these players need to build a relationship with each other.
Yeah.
It's all about your partnerships, isn't it? So like your centre midfielders, your centre defenders. If you want your right back and your right winger overlapping each other or things like any just partnerships are out the pitch. So the more consistency you have in my eyes, the better. And one of the questions I was actually going to throw out there when you sort of did highlight it a little bit there was McGeady. Now, if McGeady obviously got a foot injury at the moment, I think Ross made a comment just after the Dons game saying that it's improved over the week. So, I think it may improve again this week. If Aidan McGeady is fit, and I'll throw this out to all three of you, if he is fit, would you play him on Saturday? I'll pick on Paul first. So if Paul says no, would you play McGeady? Would he start in your eyes for Saturday?
Oh, if he's fit, 100%. I have to be completely honest. I think if Aidan McGeady is fit, he's the first name on the team sheet every single week. And that's just being completely honest. Even an 80% fit Aidan McGeady is, he's first on the team sheet for me. I know we rely on him too much, but he just takes us to... he can take results from a draw to a win and can get us out of some, sticky situations. Yeah, he's first on the team sheet for me.
Okay, Michael, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I get what you're saying there with Power maybe having a bit more freedom to express himself a bit, maybe. But yeah, I agree there. I think when McGeady is fit, when he's 100% fit, I think that's maybe the difference in opinion there. I think if he's only 80% fit, if he's 90% fit, maybe there's not quite the same urgency to rush him back. But I think when he is 100% fit, then for me, he plays. I guess that now falls to Jack Ross to, I don't want to say restrict McGeady, but maybe push him further out wide and keep him there rather than sort of free rolling around into Power's spaces or whoever else's space or 9. But yeah, I just think when he's playing, you can't not. He's technically he's the best player in the league, and any team would adore to have him in their starting 11. So I think, we maybe have to be a bit more clever with how we use him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's fit, he plays for me.
And John, I know you did sort of touch on it. So are you McGeady in or out?
I'm going to be controversial and lean towards McGeady out, I think. I'm probably going to sit on the fence but lean towards that side a bit, because I agree with what the lads have said. He is the best player, he's quality, first name on the team sheet, all makes sense. However, the way they've played without him as a team, not just in his position, the players that have come in, I know Embleton's injured and what have you, but you've got the different players that have slotted in there. I also think that against Lincoln, not that I know a massive amount of them, I haven't been following them deeply, but I know of their players. They've got fullbacks that will come forward. And I just think you're chucking in an unfit McGeady when potentially they're going to be roaming forward and overlapping. I'd like to see, even if he's not fit, on the bench, and even potentially going forward, if we can continue the form we're doing without him. I'll echo the comments of I think it was Lauren from Sun FM who said on the last podcast with Alex, she said that she wouldn't bring him back in, she'd bring him in off the bench last sort of 20-30 minutes, and because he's that kind of marquee player that he can change a game, if we're 1-1 or we're losing. It's one of those things. I know I kind of agreed with you about not chopping and changing, but I guess in this instance, even though he is quality, if the team's playing well, why shake it up, And I know we've got injuries and stuff, but I just feel like it might be a bit of too much of a risk. Yeah, I don't think I'd go for it this Saturday, even if he's fit. I think I'd have him on the bench. Lincoln's sort of like a tricky team to play against. If we're struggling, chuck him on for the last 25-30 minutes. And I definitely think that potentially going forward, unless the other lads can sort of carry on this freedom with him in the team, I'd be a bit concerned about him coming in every week, because we are relying on him too much.
Well, I do agree on that last part there. Literally, you said they rely on him too much. We definitely do. That's my only thought, because he has, again, echo what everyone else always said. There's no doubting he is clearly, one of, if not the best player in this league. What you're saying, bring him off the bench. What an amazing sub that is to have in League One, Aidan McGeady. And again, to echo what Michael said, I think trying to get that team to play to its, not overly rely on him, but not also restrict him. It is a difficult one. It's all about opinions. So it's but I'd probably, I'd like to see him come off the bench if anything, and just keep with that winning team of from this weekend. Now, one other change that did get made, not so personnel wise, but we've actually had obviously Willis as captain. Now, I've sort of said, for a few weeks, I think we've lacked leaders on the pitch. I like him being a captain, even more fact, I think he'll play 9 out of 10 times as opposed to Ledbetter. Again, with him, with Lynch, with the Bock at the back, all of a sudden things seem a little bit more solid, although we didn't keep a clean sheet. Again, Paul, you was at the game on Saturday. What were your thoughts on that as a back four with McLaughlin as well, on the right-hand side? Is that a better sort of combination we've now got at the back? Have we found an answer?
Yeah, I think that has to be the back four going forwards, bar injuries or suspensions. I thought that was arguably, apart from O'Nine's performance, I think that was the big plus. Lynch and Willis looked a good partnership in the making. I think I saw something on social media today. Someone said we haven't had that kind of combination since Kone and Kabul, and I would agree with that. They both just look like they enjoy defending and they enjoy sticking the head on things, and they look like League One centre-halves. If I'm an opposition striker and I'm lining up against Willis and Lynch, I'd be thinking, oh God, I'm in for a tough one here. Where if I was lining up against Flanagan, and I know it's not based on looks, but to me they look more like they should be, modelling for ASOS than centre-halves on a Saturday in League One. They're just too soft and too easy to score against, in my opinion. But I thought Lynch really solid, put his foot in. He's left-footed as well, I think, which helps on that sort of side of centre-half. And yeah, De Bock was really, really impressive, I thought. He looked like he'd played at a higher level, which he has. He's played with Club Bruges in Europe, I think.
He's playing in the Champions League. So yeah. I know the Leeds fans you're going off social media, but Leeds fans didn't think a lot of him. But so the 2 games he's played so far have all been positive.
Yeah,
Definitely.
sometimes it just doesn't work out at clubs, does it? I mean, we know better than anyone, really. And maybe a new lease of life is what he needed. And he looked more of a left back than Hume to me. So yeah, really happy about that.
Nice, that's good stuff, mate. It's that's the thing that was always been lacking for us is that defence. You know, we've all said it. It's not. We need to get clean sheets. We need, we're not outscoring teams. We need to start defending better and not letting them score. So we do look ahead to Saturday, to Lincoln this weekend. Now, obviously, they started the season really well. It was like 3 wins out of 3. But however, they've only taken 1 point from the last 6. Now, I always call it the Adi Akinbayi law that if a team needs a win or a player needs a goal, play against Sunderland and you'll get that. For Michael, I'll throw a question out to you. For this weekend, would you make any other sort of changes to the team? One big thing to talk about is Burge and McLaughlin.
Yeah, I saw that actually quite a lot on Twitter, and this is one of the ones where probably being an Exile probably doesn't work out. It's not ideal because for me, McLaughlin, every time I saw him last season, he was phenomenal. And I know he was, again, in my only experience this season, Peterborough was maybe a little bit suspect for Madison's free kick. But for me, I just think he's such a good, reliable goalkeeper. And I wonder whether people are just looking for any, because there's not like one specific problem with our team, and we have, got the draws and things. And I'm just wondering whether people are maybe just looking at every single possibility for what could be going wrong, and that at some point is going to come round to the goalkeeper. By all accounts, Burge has done phenomenal in his appearances so far, and I think it's great to have that competition. But I just think for now, if it ain't too broke, I don't really think we need to fix it when it comes to the goalkeeper situation. It's not like sort of dropping Hume for De Bock or a striker for another striker. I think it's probably a bit of a confidence blow if you have full season, probably player of the season, barring maybe McGeady, and then suddenly from a couple of games with nothing particularly awful, he may not have been 10 out of 10 each week, but when nothing too drastically wrong has happened, it might just seem a bit harsh, a bit of a confidence breaker to suddenly drop him like that. And I've got to echo what was said there about Lynch, De Bock, Willis. I think Willis, whenever I've seen him, he just looks like the real deal for me. Lynch, again, I haven't seen him in the flesh, but he looks like such a solid big guy. No nonsense, no sort of, I guess, Ozturk. I like him, but you never get that confidence from him. And so I think if you've got this, assured two centre backs sitting there, then that's a good thing to build on. 09 for me probably stays where he is in midfield. Again, I think he's clearly got something about him when it comes to that finish the other day was a good finish. I know it touched the post, but he does have a goal in him, and he's a hard worker, and it's nice just to see him sort of connecting the dots, I guess, from left to right, a little bit behind him, and whoever's up front. So I think he could be pretty sitting pretty in that number 10 slot. So yeah, I don't think we really need to change too much. I'm still clinging on to some hope that Will Grigg's going to come good. Whether that is completely misplaced, who knows? I'd love to see him start and score a goal, just have an absolute, blinder of a game. But whether that's going to happen, who knows? But yeah, I wouldn't really change too much, especially with the goalkeeper situation. I think I'd probably stick as it is for now. But Burge deserves all the praise he gets.
And John, you always like to go against opinion. Where are you standing with Burge and McLaughlin then?
I'll stay consistent and go against opinion. I definitely think that Burge deserves a bit of a bash. I think for 2 reasons. First of all, his kicking. McLaughlin's been mega suspect since he's been at Sunderland. His kicking hasn't been great and his touch hasn't been great. And Burge has got a massive kick on him. Like in the Sheffield United game, like the highlights I did see because I was away for work, I didn't get to watch it and stuff, but every single sort of kick was just like 3/4 of the pitch. It was like Pickford-esque. So that's the first reason. Second reason, I agree with Michael. I agree with most of what you're saying with regards to the confidence, and he deserves the plaudits, McLaughlin, because he's brilliant. He's a top-class keeper. However, being a keeper is a confidence game anyway, before you think of being dropped and things like that. And he has been responsible for 2 or 3 crucial goals, really, if you want to call them crucial goals, depending on your opinion. Madison's against Peterborough was the first goal. that set the sort of like tone really, and that was definitely his fault. I was behind the goal. I'm probably going to get hammered for saying this, but he can't take crosses or corners. It's like he's scared of coming out for them. Burge was imperious against Sheffield United. He was coming out, he was scaring the strikers. So I just think maybe it's time for a switch. But having said that, I honestly don't think it would be major shakes leaving McLaughlin in. He's obviously a quality keeper. I'm not scared of leaving him in. I just think that it's probably about time to give Burge a go. And then really, my second controversial point, sorry, I'm going to get absolutely hammered for this, but the back four idea of you all talking about the back four staying the same, I want that to stay the same as well, but mainly because I really like Conor McLaughlin at right back. I've never not liked him at right back. When he was playing earlier in the season at right back, I thought he was a good signing, a brilliant right back. I've had sort of arguments with people about this because people are saying he can't go forward like a nine, he can't do this like a nine, do that like a nine. He's a right back, he's Northern Ireland international, he's done, he's got quality experience at different levels at right back. I honestly think that with a bit of confidence and a few games behind him at right back, he could be a mainstay for the rest of the season. And he showed some decent form the past couple of games. So fingers crossed he'll carry it on. But I just don't want him switching to left back. I don't want, by the looks of things, I don't want a nine going to right back. So I've kind of got my fingers crossed for him to do well and kind of sort of shut everyone's gobs who's been saying that he's like the worst footballer ever kind of thing. But yeah, the final point for me for the change of the team, I don't think we should really shake anything up exactly the same as the other lads have said. Keep the majority the same. My only concern really, and I'm just kind of keeping an open mind and not wanting to put a name on it, but who's going to play left wing? Maguire's been terrible the last few games, I think. Gooch is doing well on the right. You've got Embleton injured now. I'm not sure we've got the depth there. Will Ross pull a weird one out of the bag and put Hume left wing or something weird like that? I'm just not sure about that one really. That's my worst fear at the minute for the team. I'd echo Michael as well saying about the striking situation. Wyke's been off form, but I like Charlie Wyke. But then at the same time, I kind of really want Grigg to start banging them in, and where better than my hometown club, just to start banging them in at Sincil Bank. That'd be brilliant. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the team. Semi-controversial, I suppose.
As always, John. As always, Paul. I'll let you have the last word on what you think would be the team for this weekend's game. You I've had two opinions actually. One for Birch, one for McLaughlin. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Michael. Unfortunately, John. Sorry about that.
Boo.
I do see where John's coming from, and I think the nice thing about this is Burge is going to get his chance in the forthcoming weeks. We've got a game, I think, a week. Or next Tuesday, against Grimsby in the Checker Trade or whatever it's called now. And barring we don't cancel the game at home to Fleetwood, Burge will get his chance, so he'll get 2 games in a week. So I think it's better to do it that way instead of dropping McLaughlin, because if Burge comes in, if we drop McLaughlin, Burge comes in and doesn't do as well as we hope, then that arguably leaves us in a worse situation than we are now. So I do get it. McLaughlin has been a bit ropey this season, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being very sentimental based on what he did last year. I still don't think it's battle stations yet where we have to drop him. And it would be nice to get a sort of triangle with McLaughlin, Willis, and Lynch, in my opinion. So that's what promotion teams are built on. So yeah, I would leave it as it is for now. Midfield, yeah, leave that triangle of McGeoch, Power, and 09. Thought 09 was absolutely class. It was really nice to see a midfielder actually running past our striker. We haven't seen that for some time, and he's just so enthusiastic, and it rubs. Well, I was going to say it rubs off on others, but with this lot, it doesn't sometimes. Yeah, leave it as it is. The wingers we've kind of covered. We can talk about the striker. I really don't know what the option is. I really want to see Grigg get off the mark, as we all do, but yeah, we just got to hope that'll happen hopefully this weekend.
Hopefully it'll kick on. Now, speaking of this weekend, I did mention it earlier. I know a lot of people are talking about it on Twitter and just everywhere really. John Stacy's guide to Lincoln away. So, John, if I was going to the game on Saturday, unfortunately I'm not doing this one, but if I was going to go to Lincoln, where should I be heading to see the sights of Lincoln?
Well, there's lovely things to see all over Lincoln. The first thing I'd do is probably zip up my top so no one can see your red and white stripes, unless it's kind of you've decided to sort of change the red and white stripes to the Lincoln ones. But no, I think, there's lots of nice things to see, lots of nice pubs, lots of nice places to go. I think there's a couple of places I'd steer clear of, just to sort of get the negative out of the way straight away. Near the ground, there's quite a few pubs. There's a Shakespeare and the Blue Anchor that are very, very strong Lincoln City home crowd fans. Those of you who may know of the LTE, the Lincoln Transit Elite, they are an old-fashioned firm, I suppose, if you want to call it that way. There's no, I don't think they're really a thing anymore. I think in this day and age, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be in the old days. But yeah, they're definitely sort of like home pubs, if that makes sense. I don't think there'd be trouble. I just think you'd feel ever so out of place and wouldn't necessarily be welcomed as much as you would in other pubs. So I'd definitely steer clear of them too. The Golden Eagle's been shouted about as an idea. I used to think that was very similar to the other two, but apparently the last sort of I've been sort of hearing reports that the last couple of seasons, a lot of kind of decent away travelling fans have had a good time at the Golden Eagle, good laugh. But generally, I think most of the pubs, as long as you're not being an absolute tit, then no one's going to be an idiot with you. It's a pretty lively crowd. They're a good crowd, Lincoln City, considering it's a small ground and what have you. Every game I've ever been to, sort of as a neutral, there's definitely been a good vibe and a good atmosphere. And when they can pack it out, it's really good. It's a good sound, and no doubt it'll be banging on Saturday because they'll probably fill it up. Yeah, as far as the sights and sounds and stuff, you can get there fairly early. There's obviously quite a nice high street, quite a nice uphill area that's about kind of half an hour's walk away from the ground. That's like a medieval quarter, if anybody likes the history. One of the oldest, I think the oldest cathedral in the UK, etc. So there's some nice little sights to see. But if you're just coming in for the game, the ground's actually about 5 minutes walk from the train station, 5 or 10 minutes walk from the train station. The pubs are sort of on the way to the ground, so it's all nice and easy. A nice big pub, to be fair, that'll be quite sort of buzzing towards the game time, I suppose, will be the Ritz Wetherspoons, which is really close to the train station. But then, having said that, I've got contrasted reports that it's like really, really staunch sort of Lincoln City now. So I don't know anymore. I'm kind of out of touch with it all. So it's a bit of a rubbish tour guide situation I'm in right now. But I definitely think that you've got a few options and it should be all right. So there's plenty of things to do and see. But the main thing will be a massive Sunderland win, fingers crossed. And I'll be keeping my head down for the next few weeks if it's not a Sunderland win. So.
Oh yeah, tell me about that. Obviously, we played the MK Dons this weekend, and I couldn't think of anything worse. Had we lost to them, I'd have been embarrassed here, not keen. So yeah, I get that one. But I thank you, John, for your exciting guide to Lincoln away. Now, what we have though been asking today on Twitter was to really find out about your stories on the way to games and troubles you've had and adventures you've been on. It's all tales on the road. Now, I just going on from a few of these, and I'll read some out in a moment. We went to Reading away. I think it must have been about 14, 15. So we're talking, nearly 20 odd years ago. Pouring, a bit like today actually, pouring down the rain the whole day. Traffic was an absolute nightmare. We got to the grounds at about, I think it was about 5 minutes past 4. So we missed the whole first half. I think we missed the goal. I think we won 2-0. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, so we drove all the way for 40 minutes football, but thankfully we won. Now, hearing some of the stories today, yeah, you lot have a bit of a carry-on, really. And I'll go through some of these. So you've got the South Standers wrote in saying, Stoke away, left 7:30am, freezing. Now, you remember this was actually one where it was in the snow. Because they say the game was nearly called off because of the snow. We won 1-0 via James McLean goal. The ball wouldn't move in parts of the pitch. 3-hour journey took 7 hours as the bus overheated. And then he got off the bus, slipped over the ASL, and of course he'll do it all over again. Which there was a Gary Lawson wrote, there's been a few. Port Vale in 97, I think. Bus got lost. so missed some of the first half, and we were already 2 or 3-0 down. Bloke burnt my new top with a fag at the same time. So again, absolutely perfect day. Adam Thika. MK Dons away in the Cup, 2012 on my birthday. So this was an evening kickoff, actually. The bus set alight on the way home. And stood on the side of the motorway for 3 hours in the pouring rain before taxi to the service station. While waiting for a new bus to come from Sunderland. Got home at 10 a.m. the next day.
Is there a lot of arson attacks in Milton Keynes, Brett?
Occasionally. It's
Will Grigg played for MK Dons at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, Will Grigg was on fire when he played for MK Dons. they actually got to sing that song that we paid £4 million for.
Good song, though.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Will Grigg. I just wish he'd scored more goals so we could sing it. Right, James from Durham travelled from Scarborough to Sunderland on several buses in '94 to see us lose on away goals to Millwall in the League Cup. Took 7 hours there, 7 hours back.
Is Scarborough to Sunderland several buses? That's not too far, is it? I don't know who was in charge of this trip.
It was in 1994 though.
Okay.
So I don't know how far back. Is Scarborough quite a dated place?
But yes.
I've never been, to be fair. So I can't
I'd say it's about 2 hours from Sunderland, unless it's just because maybe there's no direct bus or whatever. I don't know.
We'll never know.
Well, 7 hours to watch us lose to Millwall in the League Cup. That's.
I mean, some of these are just they make you feel like they're all films. Like some sort of documentary or something. I feel like I've completely missed out not having experienced something like this.
Yeah.
So
I think this next one you want to miss out on it. Basically, Andrew Tong writes now. It's obviously because he's a Twitter, so it's not quite the full story. But I'd love to know more about this. He was in Krakow they came to watch Bournemouth in 2015. Flight delayed. Home at 10 p.m. Friday. He went with Ellie Barlow, so I'm guessing that's his missus. Took her straight to A&E, stomach pains, sent to Durham Hospital. Found out she had appendicitis. Left hospital at 3 a.m, bus at 4 a.m. We were 2 down after 10 minutes. Had no sleep, no drink, so he's obviously he's done all that about having a beer. But he left the hospital as she needed emergency surgery the next day. It was gangrene and close to bursting. I've not lived it down since.
Jeez.
Incredible.
That's real. That's really I mean, I'm not kind of condoning that kind of behaviour. my wife would add my testimony for that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to plenty of games where I've been probably sat there thinking, I wish I was in hospital. I'd rather be in hospital right now.
Yeah, same here.
Who's the real winner here?
But you know how much some your missus holds a grudge against you. She will be bringing that up every single time he does anything.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be a case of you want to go out for a beer? What about that time that he's literally got a lifetime of pain from that, and he didn't even get a win out of it, and didn't get any sleep or beer out of it. So
that is a crap away day.
Yeah, and he come back from Krakow as well. It's was that the end of a holiday? Why come back for a Bournemouth game? In the middle of it's weird.
So many questions.
I like that's the least weird part of this whole story is that he was coming back from Krakow. We just totally skirted over that to the point.
Yeah.
Read the first sentence, you're like, this sounds good, but then it gets forgotten about straight away.
This one made me laugh as well, actually, but also because of the blokes. I'm guessing his nickname has come from the story. So it's Brownie, and his Twitter handle's @Brownie84 SAFC.
Oh my God, what's coming now if it's Brownie? What is coming now if that's his nickname from this?
Coventry away,
should we have a guessing game?
I don't want you to have a guess because Coventry away 2003. Dad had made some sardies for the way back. Picked up some packets of brown sauce before the match. They burst in me pockets, so I have pockets full of sauce for match on way back.
I bet that stank. I bet that absolutely stunk all the way out.
Ever since then, he was known as Brownie. I can only assume that his name might be John Brown.
It's also one of the weirdest stories for a nickname that I've ever heard, I think. Normally a nickname is something that's boring to do with your name, or something that's really, really extreme that you've done. So the fact that it's just, not just, but the fact that it's such a weird story about brown sauce and now it's called Brownie, that's impressive.
I've got 2 more and then I'll wrap this up. This is from Carol Ann Montgomery. This is a long distance travel, this one. Well, long time travel. Preston away, I lived Putney, so no trains to Manchester from London. So had to go via Leeds, York, meaning a 5 a.m. start for the first tube. We got hammered 4-1. The train from Preston broke down somewhere, somehow got to London, but after the tube stopped. So 2 night buses and home at 2 a.m. Nightmare. So getting up at 5 in the morning, getting home at 2 a.m. and you've been battered 4-1 off Preston. That is a crap day out.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost as crap as Peterborough the other week. But yeah, that's I'm obviously joking because that was horrific, but nowhere near as bad as what Carol Ann's had to go through. I wouldn't have got home. I'd been asleep somewhere in a ditch or something.
I've got one last one now, and don't ever get in a car with Mark Evans in the 90s by the looks of it. Spurs 90s did a 360 in the snow on A1. Liverpool 90s, the rear axle snapped. Everton 90s seized engine. Wigan 05 just missed the petrol tanker. And then a home game 05 was from Dubai, booked the wrong flight, was a day late, bought a new flight to London Heathrow, which was snowed in, hired a car, 8-hour drive.
Take the train.
That is just, you're in Dubai, man, just watch it on the telly over there.
I mean, I fearful the guy, but, there's a common denominator there.
I'd really not want to get in the car with him.
No, but thank you very much for all your tweets today. I actually really enjoyed that. We'll have to do another question like that again. That was very good. Apologies also to Brownie. I really hope that is a nickname and not just your name, as we laughed about it. But guys, thank you very much. You have been listening to the ROKER Report Exiles podcast. Michael, Paul and John, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you, Brett.
No worries.
Cheers. Yeah, thank you very much.
We hope to hear from you all soon. Take care now.
Take it easy.
I was laughing all the way through that away guide to Lincoln.
Sorry.
Chuckling away at myself. It was class.
I just literally, to be fair, Brett's built it up far too much, and I knew you were going to do it, Brett, as well, but it didn't make it any easier. But it's not,
I love it.
It's impossible. It's like...